Hey everybody, I want to talk to you about what's important for 2026 when it comes to your career.
Welcome to the club. AI
By the
adopter.
way, this thing here, I just built that in like 30 minutes and it's been super fun. It's supposed to show what I'm talking about while I'm speaking, so I wonder if it's going to work. But here we go. So, I spent last Sunday morning watching a Stanford lecture, and it really changed how I think about this whole topic of AI careers. Andrew Ng and Lawrence Moroney, they ran a session for their computer science students. It was basically career advice for people building with AI. And one data point really stuck out, and that is that the engineer to product manager ratio at top AI companies, well, it's kind of collapsing toward 1 to 1. One engineer, one PM, same team. You want to know why that matters? I think it matters because the bottleneck moved. AI coding tools, as we know them with Claude Code, I've been going crazy about this. They've been doubling capability every few months. I think it's every 7 months or so. Ng said that his personal favorite tool changes every 3 months. Being half a generation behind makes you measurably less productive. Here's the implication: writing code is getting cheaper while deciding what to code is not. All right? So when you can prompt software into existence over a weekend, the constraint shifts upstream, just like in my first article here on this newsletter. Remember? It was called Welcome to the Director's Chair. That's exactly what I was talking about a year ago. Maybe not in coding, but just generally career advice. Who talks to users? Who understands what they need? Who makes the call on what to build next? This is where I'd push back on the everyone should learn to code narrative, which is kind of obsolete now anyway. The skill that matters most now is developing judgment about what to build, not the mechanics of building it. Sure, it's still very important and it still helps to have a development background to do that. Ng called this collapsing the engineer and product manager into a single human, even, not just a team. It sounds like productivity hack, right? Well, it's actually a career strategy these days. Now, Moroney, he laid out a framework, and that consists of 3 pillars that hiring managers actually want. First, understanding in depth. And there are 2 flavors here: academic understanding, which is reading papers, knowing the architecture, and all that type of jazz. And then there's market understanding. Now, it's important to know which trends are signals and which are the noise. The second one here, the market understanding, is a little bit harder. Most people drown in hype and never really develop a filter. Now, the second pillar here, that is business focus. Every piece of work you produce should connect to business outcomes. Moroney shared this example of his own Google interview story. What he did in the past was he built a Java app that predicted stock prices using Google's own cloud. His entire interview, therefore, became a conversation about his code. He controlled the narrative. Think about it for a second. Don't dress for the job you have, dress for the one you want. Maybe you've heard that saying before. Well, you can throw that out the window. Obviously, it's still important to dress right, but don't let your output be for the job you have. Let your output be for the job you want. All right? Specifically for AI coding, people that work with coding. Looking at the outputs here, kind of interesting. It actually created a Java coffee. Well, let's go to the third pillar. And that is bias towards delivery. Ideas are cheap, execution is everything. While I would also argue that distribution is even more important, but that's more if you start a company or if you have your own company. We're talking about jobs now. You know, the 2023 to 2025 overhiring phase is over. Teams that hired anyone with AI on their resume discovered credentials alone don't ship products. Moroney put it bluntly: business focus is a non-negotiable these days. and especially going forward in 2026 and beyond. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The ability to prompt code into existence creates a new problem. All right? And that problem is called technical debt. Specifically, technical debt you don't understand. Morone defines it like financial debt. Every time you build, you take on obligations, bugs to fix, features to add, documentation to write, and people to convince. Good debt is a mortgage that builds equity, for example. Bad debt is an impulse purchase on a high interest credit card. Now, good technical debt in AI, what is that? Well, it could be clear objectives, business value, human understanding of what you have built. On the other side, bad technical debt, well, that is spaghetti code from endless prompting, like I'm very familiar with since I'm not a really technical guy. But I play around with things and I'm having fun, but boy, I'm scared to release things. But imagine in your company, some VP generates a prototype that becomes your problem to maintain down the line. That is bad technical debt. The skill gap isn't can you code anymore, all right? That's been somewhat solved. It's an expectation these days. It's the actual skill here is, can you manage the debt your code creates, essentially? Monterey made a point that resonated with everything I write about in this newsletter. The currency of social media these days is engagement, right? And attention. Accuracy is secondary. It's not that important. LinkedIn, for example, it's flooded with AI influencers using ChatGPT or Claude to write engaging posts that get likes, but teach very little or sometimes nothing. You've seen them. The I asked AI to do X and here's what happened post. The frameworks that sound great on your display, but they dissolve the moment you actually try to apply them in the real world. If you're the person who can filter signal from noise and communicate that signal clearly to decision makers, you became invaluable. Congratulations. And this is exact the positioning that I built the AI Adopters Club around. No hype, no enterprise budgets required, just practical implementation for professionals who need results from a guy who's actually working with real clients every day. All right? The trusted advisor position, that the one that companies pay premium rates for, that goes to people who understand business problems first and then reach for AI second, not the other way around. And this is where I'm heading in 2026. The skills that got you hired in 2023 won't cut it anymore. Companies need to rethink what they screen for. Professionals need to really rethink what makes them valuable in the marketplace. And I'll be creating specific content for premium subscribers on exactly this. The skill that matters now, all right? How you position yourself, how to think about your role when the ground beneath you keeps shifting. Ing's final piece of advice, he says that hard work is important, but he's not talking about the 9 to 9, clocking in, clocking out type of grinding type of hard work, all right? He's talking about output, measuring output. The weekend spent testing on a new tool, great. The coding instead of scrolling, awesome. The opportunity to build is greater than ever. The cost of failure is lower than ever. You waste a weekend on some vibe-coded product that never really launches, who cares? You learn so much. I know it for myself. I've been playing around with a bunch of new apps that I've coded, and maybe I'll release one or two. Maybe I'll release this thing if it actually produces results that are entertaining at least. But that's what I have to say. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of the year, and I'll see you in 2026. Now go out and build.
Welcome, welcome to the club.